every time. It's like, okay, there we go. Every time. Is it going to happen? Yes, it's happening.
Yeah, I know.
It's all happening.
One
Okay.
day. One day we'll get this tab.
Okay, welcome everyone to the first ever Boozy Book Broads Friday night with Love Sweet Arrow and our very special guest, Rosie Dannon. Welcome.
Thanks. So excited to be here for this momentous occasion.
No, this is so much fun. So before we kind of jump into everything, I do want to remind everyone who's watching with us right now to head to lovesweetarrow.com for information about buying books, links to future events, as well as they have some really fun, cute merch. You guys should just check it out. The t-shirts are really cute. They've got surprise boxes. And oh, I want to plug this. This is early, but keep an eye on the surprise boxes because they're going to be fun holiday surprise boxes coming. So that's exciting. Also, as always, there is a chat on the YouTube page during our live stream of our talk. So please put in questions. I will be monitoring the chat for questions. So if you see me looking over, that's what I'm doing. And also we have a really great drink of the night that Melanie found. Melanie, do you want to tell us a little bit about this delicious beverage?
Well, tonight at sunset is the first night of Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. So happy sweet New Year to all those celebrating. So it's sangria, which is pretty simple, but we were talking about this before we started. You can kind of pretty much put any fruit in it and call it sangria. This version takes some of the more traditional parts of the holiday, apples, pomegranates, for a sweet New Year, a little bit of honey. And I actually put it in one of my Nani's old vintage glasses.
Oh, awesome.
I love it.
For fun. So yeah, cheers, that's l'chaim.
Yeah, Shana Tova. I have white wine because I couldn't find pomegranates.
That is great. Thank you for explaining that. So before we, let's introduce ourselves and then we will move on. So I'll go first because I'm already talking. My name is Danielle Dresser. I am the editorial manager for freshfiction.com. I am a lifelong book lover. I've been reading romance probably, far too long. I started too early stealing my mom's romances when I was probably 10 or 11. Just figured out that I was stealing them like literally 2 years ago. I think you're watching. Hi, Mom. And I love talking to authors. I love talking about books. So I'm really excited to do all of this. So how about we have Rosie go next?
Oh, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Rosie Dannon. I am a debut author. This is my book, and it just came out on Tuesday. And it's a romantic comedy out from Berkeley Romance about an inconvenient attraction between two unlikely roommates that sparks a plan to overthrow a porn empire. And you can order it from Love Sweet Arrow right now. And I think they have a little bit of really fun swag. We have some stickers and scrunchies and stuff. So if you get in your order now, you could get some of that cool swag. Thank you so much for having me as, again, the inaugural guest. Really excited to be here.
All right, Angelina, you go.
I'm Angelina M. Lopez. I write steamy contemporary romance about strong women and the confident men who love them. I had an idea to do Booze and Books a month ago, and we wanted to really talk about joy and how romance is so much about escapism and how escapism is self-care and how booze helps with the whole self-care, but just this idea that we're adults and we get to have a good time. And we had such a good time. Me and Danielle and Melanie all spoke with the thanks to Love Sweet Arrow, and then we put it away. And then Melanie was like, we're going to make this a monthly event. And a phenomenal idea. Thank you so much, Melanie, for getting our asses in gear, because I would have just sat around and been like, that was fun. And so now here we are once a month getting to celebrate with awesome debut authors. It's such a great momentous occasion, and thank you for being with us here and being our inaugural guest. I'm really, really glad that you're here with us.
And Melanie, last but not least, of course.
I can't take full credit. Like Danielle and I were kind of joking around, like we should do this all the time. Yeah, I will. So I kind of make the joke that I'm like all or nothing. Like I either will do everything at 150%, let's make this happen, or I'll forget about it and it will never happen. So we're gonna make sure this is happening. And yeah, I'm excited about it. And I also am the author of contemporary romance, fun, flirty, and a little dirty, which I think we're in good company here with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, excited to be drinking. I was excited to like have something on my calendar,
Totally.
like something I had to do that wasn't something like a parent Zoom meeting or a SAT prep thing for my high school senior. So
Yeah, I mean, it really is this idea of having a romance night out is really, really fun and needed and necessary right now. And it's great. I agree. Having something on the calendar is awesome.
Yeah, no, that's so fun. Oh, also, everyone who's watching in the chat, tell us if you are drinking anything. Let us know and I will run through the list and go through it. Alcohol.
Non-alcoholic is fine. Just
Not yes.
You're enjoying.
Whatever you're drinking is fine. There's no shame here.
So Angelina and Melanie, you actually did like the next part on my list here of like explaining why we wanted to do this, but you both did it, so we don't have to do that now. So yeah,
Efficient.
I know. Yeah, we're like ahead of schedule. It's great. So we're moving on to the portion of the night that I have decided to call shots, because they're just going to be fun, quick, icebreaker opening questions that we will all answer. So first, going back to what everyone is drinking, and we kind of talked about what we are currently drinking, but what is your favorite drink? It could be alcoholic or non-alcoholic. Rosie, since you are a guest, I'm gonna probably make you go first all night. So
I can handle that. You gave me a heads up.
Okay.
My favorite drink is a margarita. Before we got on, I was actually just talking about how I lived in Austin before I now live in London. And I swear like tequila just tastes better in Texas. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I like a not too sweet margarita. Like I like a cucumber or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Jalapeno margarita.
Oh, jalapeno. Yes. A spicy marg.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So good. Okay, Angelina, we're gonna go in like the same order we did, except now I'm
okay. Rosie, did you ever have did you have a Texas martini?
Yes. Ooh,
and I was like,
love it.
I went there, I was like, what's that? And they were like, it's a margarita and martini glass. I was like, I love it. It's great.
And they can put some olives in there, get a little
And
salty.
olives. Never.
Mhm.
Melanie, have you ever had a margarita with olives in it? It was the craziest thing, but it worked so well because olives are salty and it's just like a salt rim.
Awesome.
Weirdest thing. So anyway, my favorite drink is, it's funny because my birthday was yesterday and my son and my husband, because they know me so well, got me really good tequila for my birthday.
Oh,
so
yes.
we're not joking about the Boozy book rods. Like there's a dedication here. We're all doing. But a certain, my family makes wine, or that we sell wine grapes. And my mom for my birthday sent me this, so I love Chardonnay, and she sent me this, and this is our vineyard, Gantz Family Vineyard. We don't sell it. We sell our grapes, but we make wine for ourselves and our family. And it's from my block, Angelina's block. It's our Chardonnay block. And so this is obviously a favorite because my parents made it and then they put my name on it.
Love that.
That's mine.
Okay, Melanie.
I have to go after the girl whose parents made her wine.
Sorry, Melanie.
Did you snort alcohol?
No, it all stayed in. It all stayed in.
Early in the night for that. Let's go. I do. I love a good margarita, a good spicy on the rocks with salt margarita. Lately my favorite has been, I've been really, I don't know if I need the vitamin C, but things with lime. So I love a good mule, or my heroine in my first book, Getting House of Scott, loves Dark and Stormy, and that's because I love Dark and Stormy, which is dark rum and lime and ginger beer. So
awesome. Yeah, I love gin and tonics. I don't know. I guess I'm pretty simple, but
You're classy. You're the classy broad.
That's very classy.
But I had a while, like in the before times, I can't remember where I was, but I had a rhubarb gin and tonic. So it was like rhubarb infused gin. It was
Like
amazing.
sour.
I know. Yes, exactly. It was sour.
Oh, wow.
I'm imagining it and I'm having a great time.
So you can look it up and you can make it. Like you can, it's not that hard. You just kind of have to look at it. But I also know that I would probably forget about it. So I just need to go buy some. I just need to go to the liquor store and find it because it's like my fave.
That could be our goal as like the Boozy Broads get going, that then we start making like infused vodkas and shrubs and our own syrups, the Boozy Book Broad syrup.
I have a friend who does that. She does all of her own vodka infusions. She makes these for all of other writers. She makes writers' tears for us.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. And that's delicious. It's so good.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, our next shot is what book is currently bringing you joy right now? So let's just stay in the same order.
Okay. I have two. I have like a romance novel and then not a romance novel, if that's okay.
Yeah.
The romance novel, I've been like rereading a bunch. I think like just pandemic brain, it's like easier for me to concentrate maybe. But it came out in April, which like is not that long ago, but I think I read it as an arc. But it's a romantic comedy, You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle. If you guys haven't read it, it's so funny. It makes me crack up. Sarah has like really sharp humor, like cut yourself on it sharp. And it's about a engaged couple that becomes enemies and then gets back to lovers. And yeah, she's a debut as well. So if you haven't read that one, definitely check it out. And the other book that just brings me joy all the time that I like take any opportunity to talk about is a cookbook. It's Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat by Samin Nosrat. And it just, I won't talk about it too long, but it just like changed my whole life. It like not only has great recipes, but it really teaches you how to cook. And I just think about that when I think about sort of like genre changing art. And she's just like also a wonderful human that does like so much good in the food world. So if you're looking for joy in either food or romance, check out one of those books.
Awesome.
Books bringing me joy is I'm gonna do the same thing, romance and non-romance. I finally read Earthbound by Emma Barry and Genevieve Turner. If you guys have not read this book, it is set in 60s space race. It's like a series of like 5 books, but Earthbound is about this incredibly smart female engineer and her crabby engineer boss, and they're like impossibly hot for each other, but you know they work together, so they start having like sex only, no emotion sex in this like crappy hotel, and then of course it turns into something more. But it's in the midst of the 60s space race and talking about, you know, math and being a woman engineer in this era, and it's just it's super hot. I mean, they do such a good job with that, but then it's just smart and it's interesting. And when I picked it up, a friend recommended it. It had like 20 reviews on Amazon. So I've just been like proselytizing for this book because I need everyone to read it and like give them millions of dollars. But I think there's like 5 books in the series. So that one's amazing. And then for my birthday, I got Mexican Gothic by Silvia Morena Garcia. So I haven't had 1 second to crack it yet, but I'm super, super excited to read that.
Cover is gorgeous.
Yeah, gorgeous.
And it's spooky season now, so it's like perfect.
Exactly. It's the perfect time. Yeah.
Speaking of gorgeous covers, I'm actually reading You Had Me at Hola from Alexis Arias right now, and I love it. I'm listening to the audiobook, and the narrator is fantastic. So I'm really enjoying that and enjoying it's just a fun book. It's a fun, like, interesting, fully developed, you know, books, and I'm like landing in that world and living in that world whenever I'm listening. So that's, having a good time.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to say something that's going to make a lot of people real jealous. I'm going to, because this is what I'm reading.
You have an arc of something.
I do. I'm the editorial manager for Fresh Fiction. I get a lot of books early. I am reading How to Catch a Queen by Alyssa Cole.
Oh, nice. Speaking of gorgeous covers, that cover is so hot.
Amazing cover. I'm not even going to say that much about it, but it's really good. I'm really excited about it. But I do want to say it's like one of those things like, okay, Alyssa already writes every romance subgenre.
Yeah.
And she wrote an amazing thriller that came out earlier this month.
That's on my list next for the
And
next.
now she's
audiobook,
coming
yeah.
back to contemporary romance, and it's
Yeah.
delightful. So I'm sorry, Linda. I see that you said you hate me. I would hate me first. So
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I can picture that cover in my mind right now, and it's like,
Oh, me too. It's stunning.
it's
Alyssa's so
stunning.
talented. It's wild.
So yeah, so I just, I had to brag a little bit.
That was fair. You had the exact reaction. I think like all our mouths just dropped open.
So there you go. And so the next shot that we're going to do is what's something you've watched or listened to that you have loved. It could be recently or that's gotten you through the pandemic, anything you want to say.
Oh, this isn't like not even like a recommend necessarily, but I'll be candid. I guess the thing that really got me through the beginning of the pandemic is that I rewatched old seasons of Survivor.
Oh my
And I don't know what it is. Like I tried to kind of like unpack the psychological thing there. Like maybe it was like, okay, well, these people are getting through a tough time and also I am on my couch. But it was so soothing. And yeah, so I don't know, maybe if you're looking for something, and there's so much to binge, right? Because there's like 30 seasons or something bananas like that. So yeah, again, I'm not sure that I can recommend Survivor at this in the year 2020, but if you have tried everything else, maybe get the CBS app.
Yeah, I love it. Angelina, what have you watched or listened to?
The newest thing I've been watching is Ted Lasso on Apple Plus. It is the least likely, most charming show. It's about an American like college football coach, like Texan, like accent and the whole deal, who goes to Europe to coach soccer, and he's never coached soccer before. He's hired because you find this out early, the new owner has this nefarious plan to make the team tank, but he turns out just to be this charming guy on a journey with the best of intentions. And there's something so well-meaning about the show and everyone's interest in it, and the women are represented really well, and it's absolutely, if somebody said that, I'd be like, that absolutely is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But there's something so well-intentioned about that show, and it just fills me with joy. And it's coming out like one a week, and I get done and I'm like, no, I want to live there because it makes me happy more. So highly recommend it. I know it doesn't sound like it, but it's a wonderful show.
Nice. All right, Melanie.
I hope someone's taking notes because I want to go back and. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. If you can't tell, I'm in my Star Wars den bar lounge right now. But because of book deadlines and stuff going on, I just finally watched The Mandalorian.
Oh, wow.
Just last week, my husband and I finally sat down and we binged like 2 or 3 episodes a night because most of them are only like half an hour. And oh my God!
That baby Yoda is so cute. How'd they make that?
I saw, because I have so much Star Wars crap in this room, you have no idea. But like the baby Yoda stuff, I kind of was like, yeah, he's cute, but whatever. But now, oh no.
It gets you.
Going on.
You think about that idea room too, of those people sitting around and they're like, I don't know, what about baby Yoda? And like all of their brains just exploded. Like,
I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it because there were so many nods and winks to the original trilogy. There was a lot of and I mean, it's a Western. The Mandalorian is a straight up, it's a space opera Western. The way they set up so many of those shots, the way they, the tropes that were played out. But I felt it was really true to the original Star Wars storyline, and a lot of fun little nods and winks. If you're a huge nerd like I am, you're catching all these tiny little details. Like if you remember in Empire Strikes, I won't take forever on this discussion. I won't turn this into a Star Wars. But if you remember Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader tells Boba Fett no disintegration. Mm-hmm. And Boba Fett has, on the Mandalorian in the new one, he has this weapon that just disintegrates the crap out of everything. That's what that's about.
I didn't know that. That is
Watch
awesome.
Mandalorian, and he's got this long, like, trident thing that disintegrates things. That goes back to Boba Fett and his.
I think we should start
Right.
keeping track of all the things valuable things that people learn on the show.
We can continue.
Yeah. No, that was like hard-hitting facts.
That's just trivia.
Yeah.
What are you watching, Danielle?
So I have a 6-year-old. So the only thing that I watch is literally like on the Disney Channel. It's like kind of what keeps her happy right now. That's what we're going with. But I've been listening to podcasts, and I just started listening to the Black Romance podcast. There are only a few episodes. I think they're like 6 or 7. And it's really amazing. They're just going through and they're interviewing Black romance authors, you know, kind of going through like the trailblazers that a lot of people that we've been talking more and more about. But most recently, the second interview went up, I think this week, but it's with Vivian Stevens, who was one of the founders of RWA. It's fascinating. I highly, highly, highly recommend everyone listen to it, because just to hear her story from her mouth. There was that great Texas Monthly article that kind of made the rounds a couple of weeks ago. And it's like that, but more. And it's from her directly. So you definitely, if you are at all interested in anything that has been going on with RWA for the last, 7, 8 months, 9 months at this point, you know, check it out. So yeah, that's what I've been listening to. But all of the episodes are amazing. I mean, Brenda Jackson, Beverly Jenkins, they're all there too. So, and I'm excited to see where it goes, because I think it's really amazing. I hope it looks. I do want to say my mom is in the chat. She said, I hope that the romances I was reading were G-rated. And I just want to say, Mom, you know what was on your bookshelves. You weren't. And I was reading them.
It obviously worked out though. Nothing to worry about. You turned out great. Like,
made my career. Here I am. Oh, someone wants to, it's called the Black Romance Podcast. Hi, Jillian. I know her. That's funny. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the section of the night that I have also decided to call the Full Bottle, where we get into our discussion with our esteemed guest, Rosie. So to start off, Rosie, I want you to tell us everything about The Roommate, but, you know, just kind of your inspiration, your journey into romance, and just kind of, you know, what got you to this week when your debut novel finally came out.
oh boy. Well, I'll try to be concise a little. But yeah, I guess I started writing about 5 years ago. Definitely didn't take it that seriously at first, really just loved books, specifically loved romance like my whole life. I kind of joke that I like started writing a romance novel because I like just couldn't get enough of romance novels. So I literally had to like make one that I could live inside while I was writing it. And so, yeah, I knew I wanted to give writing a shot as just kind of a hobby, something to get away, because my day job was super intense. And so, yeah, I started doing that. And then this is the idea that I had. There's like I guess like the inciting incident for The Roommate. And there'll be some like light spoilers probably in this conversation. But basically Clara is our heroine, and she is an uptight blue blood from Connecticut. She just got her PhD in art history, and she decides to, for the first time in her life, do something daring and spontaneous and maybe a little bit wild. And she uproots her whole life on the East Coast and moves to LA to try to win the heart of this guy that she's had a crush on her whole life, basically. And instead of moving in with him, which is what she thought was going to happen, she ends up moving with a Craigslist renter that he found. And he turns out to be an adult entertainer. And so the scene that kind of was the inception of this book for me, that's just been with me for this entire 5-year journey and is now in the book, is that once the heroine finds out that her hero performs in adult entertainment videos, she does what I think any of us would do, which is she opens a safe search window and she Googles him. And I just thought it would be really funny if you Googled your new roommate, maybe started watching some of his videos, and then of course he came home and was like, what's going on here? And kind of seeing where that conversation could lead was, so So that's how I got the idea. I would say my path to publication got serious really not until 2018. I applied to Pitch Wars, which is a writing mentorship program that pairs aspiring writers with a little bit more developed writers. And the goal of that is not necessarily to like get to a published novel. It's really more about craft development and building a community. So that's why I pursued that, and I was lucky enough to get in, and that kind of put me on a path where they have an agent showcase at the end of that mentorship program, and my agent found me through there, and then obviously wanted to go on submission, and then Berkeley showed interest in the book, which again was wild to me because I just thought I had taken a writing course online before Pitch Wars, just to, again, I just really wanted to learn. I just like really love books and writing and stuff. And that instructor had told me like, there's no way that the romance genre will ever accept a hero that has anything to do with porn. And so you should either like give up this book or change his occupation.
Rosie, can I ask what year that was?
Yeah, 2018.
Because 2018 is when The Bride Test came out. Who was a gigolo?
The Bride Test definitely wasn't out yet. Yes, and he's
okay.
yeah.
No, it's just wild. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very thankful for Helen Wong and that book, because I do think that really helped Berkeley to think that there was a way to make this happen, because not only did that writing instructor tell me not to do it, but there were definitely editors that were like, we really like this story, but we don't know if we can sell this. So I was really grateful for Berkeley for believing in me in this book. And now that was 16 months ago that we signed the deal, and so now we're here, me and the book.
Yeah. Congratulations, that's so great.
Congratulations, Rosie.
I want to say this, Beth, who we all know and love on Twitter as B and her books, wants us to talk about, because last night you guys did a party with Speed, which is relevant to the plot of The Roommate. It's very important. But she would like to know all of our opinions on Keanu Reeves's forearms, specifically in Speed.
No, it's his biceps and that t-shirt.
We watched it last night, and it's both. It's definitely both. They each have their own moment to shine. But we had a Twitter watch party, which was so much fun. You can actually go back and see some of our conversation. It's like #Speed romance. But we definitely are like, okay, it's a forearm moment. Okay, it's a bicep moment. But Speed is so delicious. And it is a romantic comedy. Yeah. And to your point, Danielle, it is in a big scene in The Roommate. It's like they watch it together and have some hot takes.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so you touched on this a bit when you were talking about your book about Josh being a porn star, and he's a very, very good one. What do you want readers to know about, I think you could put this under the adult entertainment umbrella, but the porn industry and sex work, because I think there's a big part of the story that really deals with this and how they are portrayed and what people think about them. So could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, even myself included before I wrote this book, like porn is it is stigmatized, but it's just like a media format that has a lot of cultural connotations. And so I think that can be hard for people to get past. It's not something that's like brought up in a lot of polite conversation. So it's very, again, like, I guess some of this is like showing how the sausage is made a little bit, but I think like the way I set up the narrative, I tried to help people to think about sex workers as human beings, which, like, again, it doesn't seem like somebody should have to do that, but I think a little bit sometimes people do have to do that. And so I tried to help people empathize with his situation by like drawing parallels to experiences that I thought would be more universal. So for example, like there's a point in the book where Josh is talking about how, because he performs and because a lot of people may have like seen him naked, for example, that sometimes people think that that means that they can like touch him in like just like strangers can come up and like rub his arms or things like that. And that is something obviously that's specific to sex workers in a sense. And I actually worked with a subject matter expert, a current male performer. And that's something that he was like, yeah, I totally have experienced this and it's difficult. But I think that's something that a lot of people, especially a lot of women, have also experienced in a sense where, and Josh does that for Clara. He's like, have you ever been at a bar and a guy comes up behind you and like puts his hand on your lower back to kind of get behind you? And it's just like these touches that aren't welcome or appropriate. And so I kind of tried to set that up both for Clara as kind of a proxy for the reader so that you can start to understand like, okay, this is something about sex workers that like maybe I've never thought about, but actually is relatable to me and I can empathize with them. So I tried to do things like that because I knew that people would, people just bring baggage into the conversation when you're talking about porn. Mm-hmm. And I think if it's like about what do I want people to take away, I want people to take away that, you know, the character of Josh is more than his occupation. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing for anyone who's a sex worker that you might meet in your life. Mm-hmm. Like you shouldn't define them by what they do the same way you wouldn't define like a lawyer by their job or something like that. Like, and as in terms of the industry, like, yes, absolutely. There are things that are troubling about the industry and the book gets into some of that, but there are things that are troubling about like the medical industry and like a lot of other fields. And like anything, there's nuance, and more often than not, the workers themselves are not the people making those toxic environments. A lot of times they're the people being harmed in those toxic environments. And so I want people to think about the power structure of porn. And also it's such a wide mass media format. I think people kind of be like, oh, it's this like one lane, it's this like one type of thing. Yeah. But there's like really interesting creators in that space, just like there's really interesting creators in romance or whatever. So I hope people will just kind of keep an open mind going into the book, and maybe it'll help you think differently about the world. I know that sounds lofty, but maybe it won't. Maybe you'll just have fun, and that's also fine.
Also equally important. So I want to switch gears, but female pleasure is like front and center in this book. Because Clara, who is uptight, like she just is.
Yeah, I think she would admit to that.
Yeah, and one of the things, even really, they're both like obviously attracted to each other pretty early on, but before they even really start to, I think, get into kind of the beginnings of a relationship, even they do talk about how like she really doesn't even totally understand what she finds pleasurable, and they kind of go, she doesn't have to, but she decides to figure this out, and Josh helps her. So I wanted to talk about that with everyone because I think that is a really important part of the books that Angelina and Melanie write too. And just, was this something, Rosie specifically, was this something you started out you wanted to do from the start? And then with Melanie and Angelina, just how you kind of incorporate that into your work as well, and thoughts in general.
Yeah, I think from a narrative standpoint, like when I was thinking about writing this book, like I think of like, I guess like my author brand or whatever is like, I'm often trying to unpack like the trials and triumphs of modern love is what I say. And so there's a specific kind of trial of modern love that, again, like was kind of influential in terms of me developing this book, which is that, have you guys heard of the orgasm gap? That's like what it's called, which is where there's a study a couple of years ago out of Stanford where they just found there was this huge disparity, specifically in cis heterosexual relationships, where when a man and a woman have a sexual interaction, there's this expectation that the man is going to orgasm, but there's no such expectation that the woman is going to orgasm in a lot of these interactions. It's just not there. It's like, okay, if you do, great. But nobody thinks that it's like about each of them finding mutual pleasure. And that sucks. And it is kind of like a consequence of like hookup culture and just like the way that dating evolved. And anyway, I thought that was all fascinating and also a bummer. And so I think that is why it's a focus in the novel. Clara is, I think, like relatable to probably a lot of people in the sense that she just doesn't put that burden on her partner. She thinks like if she isn't having a great time, like that's probably on her somehow. And Josh is really the first man that's like, no, like it's up to your partner to make sure that you're having fun. And that means trying different stuff and not giving up if one thing doesn't work and all this stuff. And he's just really passionate about like equal opportunity orgasms, if you will. And he also is like excited about his partner having fun. And so that's a big focus.
Melanie, do you want to go?
I was thinking I need a t-shirt with equal opportunity orgasms. that model that was going around Twitter earlier today that people were saying she could be I could see him wearing that crop top.
Let's get one and we'll send it to him and make some magic happen.
Yeah, you should get him to wear the equal opportunity orgasm shirt for you. That would be.
I am gonna try my darndest.
Yeah, I think wish fulfillment is in the sense that like there was something about romance that was said a while ago. I think it was in Beyond Heaving Bosoms, which Sarah Wendell Smart Bitch, she wrote about the romance genre, and this idea of part of the appeal sometimes of certain male characters is not so much that we need them to take care of everything for us, but that sometimes it's nice to have a hero say, sit back or lay back, I've got this, you know, I'm going to take care of what you need. And yeah, so like that sense of fulfillment and the sense of trust that, like you said, that gap where there is no guarantee. And a lot of times, unfortunately, that's just not part of the equation. And then as women will often, well, it's something wrong with me. It's my fault. But you know, that to have that kind of fulfillment. And it doesn't always have to be smooth sailing. It doesn't always have to be like in the old school where it's always magically simultaneous. But finding that together and figuring out what works, you know.
Yeah, it's really Sarah McLean in the Fated Mates podcast. It was she did an Alpha Heroes. They did an Alpha Heroes episode and talked about the advantages and problems of the Alpha Hero. But one thing she talked about is that those books that she was reading growing up that were so focused on the Alpha Heroes, she said those books taught her, regardless of the kind of dude, caveat, I might be like mixing up a billion Fated Mates episodes, but I think it was this one where she says those men and the way the female author was delivering these relationships taught her that female agency in sex was good and that was beneficial and that it benefited a relationship, that women taking control of their sexual pleasure and demanding that sexual pleasure from a partner, that was a valuable part of a relationship. And not only that, but it helped her develop what kind of relationship she wanted to have as an individual, you know. And I 100% agreed with that. And that would definitely establish what kind of relationship for myself personally. These books, as idealized as that sexual relationship was, it was about female sexual pleasure, female agency, and a man who acknowledged and advocated for that. And Rosie, your book, he's doing it in a very specific way. Like it's happening in a very named way where she is saying, I don't have control of this, and he's saying we're going to find that for you. And I did really enjoy the way that where it's named that way. I'm writing a different kind of, just in the series I just wrote, it's all about these wealthy women in power. And so part of the expectation is that I'm about to say they're older. They're all like 29. So I understand. First of all, I know. But anyway, their experience and that they have, and this idea that they come to their books and to their heroes with this sexual pleasure in place. And so it's a little bit different evolved because of who they needed. I needed them to have agency already established over their bodies as part of their characteristics. But I do think your book very specifically names something that a lot of the romance genre has done in this, overall way, which is like sexual pleasure for the woman is good and it's valuable, and a man who makes it a priority, you know, again, many times not as specifically as yours does, and it is like magical orgasm. He touches her clitoris and she goes off like fireworks after, like, he never gets tired. Like, it's like, whoa, this is taking 20 minutes and I'm rubbing like it's like sandpaper, you know? But it's like, but yeah, I think you just did a really great job of naming something that a lot of the genre has advocated for a really long time, and it's cool. I really enjoy what you did with your book.
Thank you. I really did try to have them like be communicating verbally during that interaction, as well as like the physical interaction, because frankly, like, it's not that Clara had a physical issue, it's that she had like mental roadblocks. So he's kind of like unpacking a lot of those. Like, to your point, he's like, I'm not going to get tired. Like, I don't want anything out of this. It's not my turn afterwards. And like, also, like, if this doesn't work, like, I'm not going to feel bad. Like, my ego isn't involved in this. And so I think that kind of communication was also key to that, like, impacts her pleasure, because she can relax. She doesn't have to worry about those things that sometimes society tells us to internalize in those interactions.
And it does affect them, that it does affect the man's ego, whether, you know, which is why faking orgasm is so prevalent. It's such a prevalent joke, and actually not that funny.
It's not, it's a bummer.
I will just say, since I already, you know, I know my mom is watching. Hi, Mom. But
I'm so glad you didn't remind me beforehand, Danielle.
Waited.
Hi, Danielle's mom. Sorry, I said orgasm so many times.
But I think this is really important, because I don't, like, to be perfectly honest, yes, I was stealing my mom's romance novels when I was really young, but like when I was 11, I don't remember those. The book I remember is the book my mom handed me when I was like 16 or 17, because she was kind of like, okay, you're now ready for a romance novel. And she handed me Born in Fire by Nora Roberts. And in it, it's about these two kind of, they're both her fiery personalities. It's set in Ireland. It's amazing. Go read it. But they're these two people, and she's an artist and he's an art dealer. And I think what I remember the most is that he wanted her to be successful. Like, he saw her art. He was like, this is amazing. You're going to be a star. And in it, they also fall in love. But it was like the right book for me to read at that time, because I got to see this relationship that probably did have magical orgasms, because it came out in like the mid 90s, I think. But it was like these two people really forming an important relationship. And that's the book when I think of what got me started in romance. Like, that's the one I think of, not the one that I stole when I was, 11. But it was all about, it was like, they were in this together, they were communicating, and in the end, it all worked out, so. So let's switch gears and stop talking about orgasms in front of my mother and talk about roommate horror stories. This is a book called The Roommate. Things get off to a rocky start. They have to get used to living together. I'm sure everyone's got a story. So whoever wants to go first this time can just jump right in and give us your best roommate story. Anybody?
I don't have one ready. I have one, unfortunately.
Okay. Go, Rosie.
Yes, go.
Oh, I was teasing this little. I was on the Berkeley Instagram yesterday, and somebody asked me this, and so I did like a little text answer. But I guess I can elaborate here. But my freshman year roommate in college decided, like, probably 2 months into college, that she was a vampire. And she was like pretty serious about it. She was like, she had like a conversation with me. She's like, I'm becoming nocturnal, so I am going to be sleeping during the day, and so I need you to not have the lights on, and like, please be quiet during the day when I'm sleeping. God. And then she would sit up all night while I was sleeping on coven chat rooms, and that's how she talked to her coven. This is all real. And yeah, she just like, it stopped going to class. Like, I don't know, it was like kind of concerning, but at the same time I was like, well, I'm not a lot I can do. And we had like an open room, like it wasn't even, so it's just like super strange. And I think she's like a lawyer or something now, so I think she's given up the nightlife, if you will. But yeah, that was definitely a strange time.
Oh my
Oh no, that's
Happy
horrible.
Does
Wow.
anyone want to follow that? That's amazing.
So odd.
That needs to go in a book at some point.
Oh,
um, I started college at 16. I was very young when I started, and then so when I finally did when I went away, I moved in with my grandma. So, so my college roommate was my grandmother.
So cute.
oh God.
And the first year that I went to Loyola University Chicago, and the first year I was there, I actually had a friend of mine. When I transferred, I started in a smaller community college because I was so young, and then I transferred to a big university. When I transferred, I had a friend move with me who's also going to Loyola, so it was the two of us together in my grandmother's house, and my grandmother was so mean to my friend.
Oh my gosh.
Like she would my friend would want to talk to her boyfriend. This was back before we all had cell phones. So she would be on the phone in the house on the landline, and my grandmother would get on the phone and tell her to get off.
Oh no.
So long story short, after that first year, my friend moved.
Yeah, she's like,
Yeah.
I felt terrible. But it was a good experience for me in the sense that it was nice because she lived alone. My grandfather had passed away when I was little, so it was nice to have that time with her and to be there to help her, and I did a lot of stuff for her. But there was one time where I came home unexpectedly in the middle of the day. I forget why. There's a reason why I came home in the middle of the day, and I am not kidding you. My grandmother was walking around the house stark naked.
Oh no.
That was
Oh,
a sight
no.
I will never forget.
Oh,
I'm like, hey, it's your house. You can do what you want. But I didn't need to know that was going on.
Oh no.
So yeah.
oh, that's funny.
I just had like crappy roommates. I don't have a good like funny story because it was just like crappy through college roommates, But there was one roommate got a puppy, and she was like the least responsible person ever. And I was like,
oh no.
but why, and we have a small apartment. Why did you get this dog? And she's like, no, I'll take care of it. And I knew she probably wasn't going to take that great of care of it when I walked into my bedroom one day and he had shit right in the middle of the floor.
oh no.
I was like, yeah, that was the beginning of the end. That's when I moved in with my then boyfriend, now husband. Because I was like, yeah, I'm
worked
so proud.
out. See, that dog led to you marrying your husband.
True. That's a romance
Definitely.
dog.
They're dog shit romance. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get that in a story, but it was awful. They were awful. Every college room I had was awful. Probably why I got married so young, because I wasn't going back to roommates.
You're
ever
like, I gotta
again.
get out. Yeah, I can't do this.
Let's get hitched. This is a better option.
What about you, Danielle? Do you have any roommate horror stories?
I have one, and I like it's like real awkward to even like really talk about, but she kind of had like a nervous breakdown, like a legit like in the middle of everything. Like it started off fine, and it's one of those things in retrospect. Like I was 18, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So in retrospect, I was just like, oh my God, there were all of these warning signs that she just, that there were just major issues. And then but that was freshman year. So I did live alone for a while, and then I got like a new roommate, and she was perfectly fine. She was great. But then I ended up rooming with the person who became like the assistant resident advisor. So it was just like a constant like merry-go-round of people in our room all the time. And then so then junior year was fine, and then senior year I lived alone. So I don't have anything too crazy. Like the first one was very unfortunate, and it was it was a completely different level of a situation. But
yeah,
got through that. It probably made me, I think, a little bit more tolerant with like the people I did live with, because that's what it was.
No vampires.
No vampires, though. I don't know what I would have done with that.
Well, I never asked, like, do you drink blood? I was too afraid to know the answer.
Yeah, like scarves when you were in the room.
Yeah, garlic. Sleep with garlic.
She's like, you're Jewish, but you're wearing a cross? Like, what's going on? I just was like, okay, like I kind of just hoped it was like a Twilight phase or something, and that like I don't know.
I love that. Okay, so I thought for right now I would look through and see, because I did tell everyone to tell us what they were drinking. So I think I have to go like all the way back up to the top. We've got someone's drinking a Corona.
Nice.
Oh, Monica is drinking Corona and had a pizza for dinner. That sounds great.
Shut up,
Love
Monica.
a pizza.
Yes. Oh, Megan suggested going off of my rhubarb gin and tonic. She said that the Hendrix Summer Solstice gin and to use frozen blueberries for ice.
Ooh,
I like that
Fancy.
yeah.
because they don't melt like
Yeah.
the water.
Yeah.
Robert went and got some whiskey, cherry Coke for non. Oh, then a couple people like chimed in with their favorites: cherry Coke for non-alcoholic and an amaretto stone sour for an alcoholic.
That's good.
Classic. Dark and stormy. Someone saying they love dark and stormy. So yeah. So I think our chat is having a great time.
Good. Cheers.
Oh, sparkling rosé. 2 sparkling rosés. Beth has a margarita. Very
Yeah,
good.
Beth.
Awesome.
I'm
Go Bev.
You guys are all having a good time because we're having a good time. But we don't have that many audience questions. So I guess we should put out a last call.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which Marissa, I stole that. That was cute. Last call, Marissa. I like that.
Oh, cute.
Oh, Marissa, nice.
Yeah. So, but
Danielle. Danielle is so good with all this stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, the last call was Marissa. That was adorable. I love that. But yeah. So now this part we were gonna call the nightcap for audience questions, and then I do have a couple of more just like easy, fun, like icebreaker questions. So what are some of your favorite romance tropes?
I love enemies to lovers. That's probably like the one trope that isn't in this book. This book has a lot of tropes. But I love enemies to lovers, but I'm pretty hardcore about it in the sense that I like them to be like mortal enemies, like trying to kill each other enemies. Like if there's like a misunderstanding, it's not enough for me. So yeah, that's one for me. Like I like the one I reckon that is usually the Captive Prince trilogy by C.S. Pact. If you haven't read it, it's so good. It's like one that I just want to yell every time I think about it. Google it. It reads kind of like fanfic if you're into fanfic.
Nice.
Rosie, so I'm not gonna, if you really like mortal enemies to lovers, you'll like my books.
Yeah.
They hate each other.
Yeah.
And but they have hate sex really fast, and they're not funny at all.
Yeah.
Like but it's like really,
No.
in fact, like some of the reviews are like, God, that was nasty. They were mean. They were mean. So yeah, I write enemies to lovers because I have conflict thick books. Like I want to make the resolution just like, just like love, so yeah.
I love that. Tension up to 11. I'm here for it.
Yeah, 11. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, enemies to lovers, I agree. I second that. Favorite trope.
Melanie, what about you?
I like the fish out of water, and I think that's why I've always had a thing for the time travel books, and I think part of that is because I love the Viking or the Scot or whoever, the big hulking warrior who's like, what is a car?
Yeah.
How does the shower work? I mean, beyond that kind of thing, this fish out of water is someone who's in new circumstances and kind of figuring out their how to function in this new thing, and it causes them to be more vulnerable in some ways. So yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I really love oh my gosh, it just like slipped my mind. No, I love enemies to lovers as well, but I love a second chance romance. I don't know why. I feel like it's so nice when people can figure out their issues and make it work. Okay, so last call worked. We did get a couple of people. Beth is here trying to get us to talk about naughty things and wants to know, what is your naughty search term when you are looking for the spicy scenes on your Kindle or e-reader?
I think Beth needs to tell us what hers are because
I've
these
never
are very
done
specific.
I've not done that either. That's a pro move, Beth. I feel like I'm not at that level.
No, it may be a reviewer thing because I will look for thrust.
Really?
That's the word. And
I've never done that. Huh.
I'm like, my mind is blown right now.
oh, Beth says nipple is her word.
Who had a recent conversation about how many times they said fuck in their books? Did anyone see this?
Salika?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, she just had. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I searched my second book and it was like 247 times. I know. I was shocked. Melanie, your face. I was like, that was my face.
That's like more times
I'm gonna
than
check. I'm gonna check mine.
know.
Yeah.
And what's so funny in her new in her new book, I think it just came out. It's on my Kindle. Big Bad Wolf. When her like bullet points of what the book's about, the first one it says like over 250 fucks. Like she named it in her description.
That's very on brand for
So
I
fantastic.
think that is her. I think that book is coming out
in January.
Yeah, in January.
Oh, it's not out yet. I know I pre-ordered it, so it just
Yeah.
disappears.
The
Yeah.
cover
Okay, January.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Really
That's
good.
another good cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and we have another question from Nick, and it's specifically for Rosie, but I think this can apply to everyone or to the other authors. Who was your favorite character to write?
I think Nick knows the answer to this. Naomi is the ex-girlfriend in The Roommate, and she is not an evil ex-girlfriend. She's perfect in every way. That's not true. Her book is actually out next, and you can kind of see how not perfect she
That's
is.
a good lead-in, yeah.
But yeah,
That
she
one
is so fun in this one. Like I love writing her.
Because I wanted to ask a little bit about this hot rabbi hero, because honestly, I've never thought of those two words together. Like,
It's funny the way that came about is so like I said, Naomi's character in The Roommate, when I wrote her, she was just like my favorite from the beginning. I just love her, and she's so fun to write. And I'm like kind of intimidated by her. I feel better about her now, but I was really intimidated by her when I wrote The Roommate, which is like maybe a weird thing to say about your character, but I was. But my agent and my editor read The Roommate, and they were like, Naomi's book next. And I was like, oh, I like really thought I'd have like a couple more years to like get ready. So I had to brainstorm like while we were, I think even like on submission with Christine or something, to like, who could Naomi's pairing be? And I was going through people, and I just kept being like, okay, I just want like the best person in the world. Like, who's the best person in the world that could like deserve her? And I was like, well, it could be a rabbi. And I really just thought everyone would tell me no. So it was like one of those ideas where like, I don't have to even be afraid of this idea because someone's going to kill it. And so before I pitched it to my agent and my editor, I was like, well, let me just talk to my family first because they'll kill it. And we had like a family meeting about whether I could write.
Like, closet
Oh my God.
What?
Do they all have like closet hot rabbi stories?
Oh no! Well, it's actually interesting. I feel like some of that, like I feel like almost came out later. But at this meeting, it was more like me sitting them down and being like, okay, I think you guys know, like I wrote a porn star book first, and I have another porn star that I want to write about now, and I want to pair her with a hot rabbi. Like, how do you feel about that? And they were like, no, like you can't do that. That's outrageous. And then my aunt who was there was like, I'm emailing the rabbi. And she literally, before I could do anything, she just like starts shooting an email to our rabbi. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Like, he doesn't know that I write Roommate. Like, what's going to happen? And he literally just writes back and he's like, who are we to stand in the way of love? And then he's like, P.S. it's easier if she's Jewish, but like, it's not like impossible either way. Yeah, and he's like a conservative rabbi. Like, he's not even like reform.
Wow.
And so at that point I was like, okay, like seems like it's chill. Like, can't argue with that. And then yeah, pitched it to my agent and editor, kind of again thinking like, okay, maybe publishing won't be ready for this, but they were excited as well.
It's a
and
hot
so
priest trope. It's a hot priest trope.
Except that he's allowed to have sex. Like, I know not everyone knows about rabbis. I feel like there's been like some confusion for people who aren't Jewish about like, oh, is that like forbidden in the same way? And it's like, no, rabbis are allowed to have amorous pursuits. And
I am fascinated though about this idea of a family meeting to okay a romance book. like, how many people were there? I'm sorry, I need just
Sure. It wasn't that many. It was like maybe like 3 or 4. I just like, I think anytime you write about like religion or your cultural heritage, like I didn't want to like, I don't want to do something like blasphemous, like to use like another religious word, like, and so yeah, that was like what the conversation was about. And I did a lot of research and worked with like a lot of subject matter experts because, like the Jewish experience isn't singular. I'm obviously not a rabbi myself, or maybe not obviously, but I'm not. And so, yeah, it definitely took a lot of work to get the portrayal to be accurate, but I feel pretty good about where we landed, and I'm excited that book comes out in April.
That's the intimacy experiment, right?
The Intimacy Experiment, yeah, and it's available for pre-order or you can check out more about it on Goodreads. So little shameless plug there.
Oh, that's on my list to have you guys plug what's coming out.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Angelina and Melanie, if you guys have anything you guys want to talk about what you have coming up too, please do.
Yeah, I've got the whole series is called the Filthy Rich series, and it's about this family of royals in Spain who make wine. And so in the 2 first books, there was a bodyguard who was bodyguard of my first heroine, the billionaire. And Harlequin asked me to do a short story online read for him, and people have been asking about his story, and so I got to do my first little short, I don't know how many thousands of words, bodyguard story, and his falling in love with a female barrel maker after a one-night stand. So that comes out November 20th, and it's going to be part of Harlequin Online Reads, and it's a 20 thing installment. We'll see each other twice more before then. But that's the next thing I've got coming out. It's my little free Harlequin Online Reads. I'm super excited. I just set my revisions in, and God, it was really fun writing short form. Like that's been a long time.
It sounds so fun.
It was super fun. So yeah, that's what I've got coming next.
Love it. Okay, Melanie.
Yeah, I had my first experience writing short form recently too. I have a holiday novella that's coming out in an anthology the end of this month, September 29th, Jingle Balls, because it is we're raising money for testicular cancer awareness. So there's 20 stories from a variety of romantic comedy authors, and all the proceeds will be donated. And I have a character from my Sometimes in Love series is the character in this. And kind of like taking, you took the ex-girlfriend trope and flipped it. She wasn't evil. I have the heroine in this book she's kind of like the office bitch in Sometimes in Love. And we get to see, the other side of her. And she's a bit of a Grinch, but she's human too. And then I just saw the cover for my next romantic comedy, Too Good to Be Real. So the cover reveal should be coming next week. And of course, but there will be,
exciting.
There are animals on the cover. So.
That's awesome. So I am writing, but I don't have anything to plug just yet. But I will say on Fresh Fiction, I want to say if people love these chats that we do, that Love Sweet Arrow does, or any of the virtual chats, Fresh Fiction does every Wednesday. They have an author chat series. It used to be an in-person book club in Dallas, but it has now since gone virtual. And it is open to anyone and everyone. But the cool thing about the Fresh Fiction chats is that you do get to interact with the author. So it's not just broadcast. You get like a private Zoom link, and everyone's there, and you chit chat, and it's a really fun book club. So I thought I would plug that this time. But yeah, so I think that may be it, you guys. But this was so much fun. Rosie, I want to say congrats on your debut. We all loved it. Everyone in the chat loved it. And we are just so happy that you were our first Boozy Book Broads guest. It
was my pleasure. Cheers to you guys.
Cheers, Rosie.
Series. Really excited to see what's next.
Yeah, so I'll say next month on October 16th, we are going to be chatting with Diana Biller. Her book.
Oh my gosh, I love Diana Biller so much.
I know, she's delightful.
Can I swab? Like, no, I love her. It's amazing.
Yes.
But yeah,
the Little Rogue House. We're gonna talk about. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk about Sam.
Oh, I
we're gonna
love that
talk
book
about
so
her
much.
book, The Widow of Rose House. It was kind of like the hit of last fall. It's spooky. We're gonna talk about Halloween stuff. It's gonna be so much fun. Get your ingredients ready because she is going to give us a recipe for Manhattans, which is
Fun.
reference to her book. So, but yeah, so I want to remind everyone to head to Love Sweet Arrow. You can get Rosie's book there. You can get Angelina and Melanie's books there. You can get any book there, really.
Oh, yes, and someone who is listening tonight, Roseanne and Marissa will pick. I'm giving a $10 gift card to one of the listeners tonight, so they can go. It'll start them on their shopping spree.
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, they'll pick a random winner from the chat. Next time we'll remember to announce that at the beginning to encourage people to talk more. But I mean, the chat was great. Definitely go back, you guys, and look at the replay. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, so thanks again, everyone. This was super fun, and we will see you all next month.
Cheers, everybody.
Being here,
Bye, everybody.
Rosie.
Have a
Bye.
great night. Thanks for having me.